Hey guys, this is XB, and it is a nice, extremely hot afternoon here in Las Vegas. It's about, I think 114, about 114 degrees Fahrenheit, which I think is like 46, 47 Celsius in your barbarian units overseas. And you might notice I'm a lot louder than I normally am when I record these things. That's mainly because nobody's home. For the first time in, God, I don't even know how long, I can actually record one of these videos in the daytime, full voice, as loud as I want to be, and I'm not going to wake anybody up. So this is what I actually sound like during the day. You might notice most of my videos, I'm really quiet. It kind of sounds like I'm whispering almost, so that's why my kid is asleep. My wife is usually on her way to sleep or just watching TV in the room, whatever. Anyway, it's a beautiful day. The doors are open in the guest room and everything, and anyway. So I'm doing this video because I thought of doing a Star Wars, or what's the name of that freaking movie? Solo, a Star Wars story. Hey guys, this is XB here. I just had to butt in real quick. Look at how awesome that thing is photoshopped. See that? See that? Just awesome. Sorry, let's resume. And I thought, well, you know what? There's been so many reviews. What else do I have to contribute? And then I thought, well, I need to make a script. I need to write down exactly all my thoughts and make sure that they're all organized really well. And then I'll say this really cool thing. It'll be a great video. You know what? I'm not going to do that. Today, I'm just going to just give you my thoughts as they come to me. None of this is scripted. It's just off the top of my head. And here we go. Actually, before we go, I'm going to fix this stupid microphone. Hey, could one of you buy me a new mic stand? Because I freaking hate this thing. Hold on. There we go. All right. I got about 5 minutes before this thing falls again. So, Solo, a Star Wars story. I went and saw it about, I want to say 2 weeks after the release date. I am one of the many fans who was sort of protesting the film. I knew I was gonna see it, but I really had no interest in seeing it on opening night because really Solo was the movie that none of us asked for. Harrison Ford was a great Han Solo. We didn't need to know his backstory. We didn't need someone else to try to play him. And if someone was going to play them, there were more than a few good choices out there for actors who do great impressions of Han Solo, but instead they chose this other guy who, to his credit, did a decent job in the film. He wasn't a bad actor. I was afraid of that. I like you, I heard all that news about they had to hire an acting coach, and there were lots of issues, and I thought he did okay as an actor. That's not to say anything about the movie, but he was okay. Aaron, whatever's nuts is, I don't remember his name. Anyway, so we went and saw the movie. My friend and I were big Star Wars fans. I mean, look, see that I'm wearing my Empire. In fact, let me show you something. All right. Check it out. Check this out. Got my Millennium Falcon. Proper Millennium Falcon, by the way. Pocket watch. I think my dad bought this for me, or I don't know. Anyway, check it out. Pretty cool, huh? Ooh, what time is it? It's... whatever time it is, it'll take less than 12 parsecs to do it, right? All right, so anyway, went and saw Solo. The opening bit of the movie was not bad. I mean, they gave away pretty much the biggest action scenes of the movie in the trailer, as trailers so often do these days. And you had your whole... Oh, by the way, there's going to be spoilers in this. At this point, if you're afraid of spoilers... You really shouldn't be. I mean, if you haven't seen Solo yet, you're obviously not super interested in the story, and oh god, don't spoil it for me, because trust me, I'm not spoiling anything important to the whole canon of the thing. Anyway, went and saw it. The opening scene was pretty cool. You had your little chase scene, and he goes and he sees this crime boss chick. Of course, it's a female, because the Force is female, right? We got to put females in every role now. Heaven forbid we have a strong male character. And this female slug woman, or I don't know what she was, she seemed pretty cool. It's too bad she was just a small part of the movie. I would have actually liked to see her more. And proceeds to them, him and this girl that he loved escaping or trying to escape. I think it was Corellia, which I thought was also kind of cool because as some of you know, I'm a huge Star Wars Galaxies fan. I grew up on Galaxies, and seeing Corellia in a movie was kind of neat. So they try to escape Corellia. She doesn't get off. He does. And on his way out, he goes by the Imperial recruiter to join the Imperial Navy, I think it is, or Imperial... I don't know what they call their space fleet, but basically join the fleet as an officer. And the guy says, what's your name? My name is Han. Well, what's your family? Oh, I don't have any family. Okay, well then we'll just call you Han. Well, no, you're by yourself. Okay, Solo. That was the first thing I just went, really? I mean, was that necessary? Nobody really wanted to know the backstory of his name. His name was fine, just like my name. My last name is Berryhill, which is an interesting last name. It's got a pretty lame history. Basically, someone named Barry and someone named Hill got married to each other back in the 1700s, and then my last name was formed. Interesting as that. Not interesting enough to write a story on. Same with Han Solo's name. Nobody cares about his last name. They just care that he's Han freaking Solo. So, anyway, whatever. I said, okay, fine. That was kind of dumb. Then you move forward to this battle scene where he's in the front line of the Empire fighting. That was actually kind of cool. I really liked the effects on that. You see Woody Harrelson come in with his whole gang of thugs, and another pretty cool moment. Up to this point, I wasn't turned off. I wasn't turned off to the film. I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't groundbreaking or earth-shattering, whatever you want to call it, but it was passable. And he's in the trenches. It shows how he meets Chewbacca, which I actually also thought was pretty cool. My AC is turning on, so you're probably going to hear it. I apologize. It is 114 freaking degrees right now in Vegas. And anyway, so he meets Chewbacca. That's probably one of the better parts of the movie, is when he meets Chewie and how that whole thing goes down. Pretty cool. And I think there is a pretty big consensus among the fans that was probably one of the more liked part of the movies. Nobody really hated how he met Chewie. It was actually kind of a neat story. And anyway, we fast forward, and he eventually joins the crew, and blah, 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 blah. I'll skip through some of the boring bits, and we get to the center of the film. This is when he meets Lando, who is played by Donald Glover, if I'm not mistaken. Danny Glover? Donald Glover, that's the old guy. That was the old guy from, Elephant Drop, and I think the ones with Mel Gibson and stuff. Danny Glover, right? Whatever. Forgive me, okay. Everyone seems to think he's a great actor. I've not really seen him in much, but he did do a really terrific job. He nailed Lando's inflections. He nailed all that stuff. He was probably the best acted part of this movie, easily. So that was cool, seeing Lando. I was like, oh man, I wish we could have just watched a Lando film, because Lando's obscure enough that, yeah, it'd be kind of cool to see him. Just like Boba Fett, there's sort of our argument going on right now. Should there be a Boba Fett movie? Well, he only got 5 minutes of airtime. We don't really care about him. I'm actually the one I'm actually on the other side that says, well, there's so little revealed about Boba Fett that it would be okay to make a movie for him, because so little of his story was already told. He's iconic, but he's not as established as, say, Han Solo or Luke Skywalker or any of these other characters. So yeah, sure, let's do a backstory for him. I would rather see Obi-Wan first, of course, with Ewan McGregor. If you can't do Ewan McGregor, then don't bother. Anyway, we'll get back into that in just a second, because I also read the news recently that they're basically putting all of their spin-off stories on hold. So we'll talk about that at the end of this. Anyway, fast forward. So after he meets Lando is when the film really just goes down the crapper for me. With Kathleen Kennedroyd, also known as L33T or something like that. Basically, it's elite speak, which I thought was also kind of lame. I don't like pop culture references in Star Wars. Star Wars is the pop culture reference. You don't have to reference back to our reality. We're trying to escape reality here. We're trying to see a fantasy movie, not like Ready Player One is a good example. That was a great movie in my opinion. millions. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but I'll just say millions of pop culture references to every possible movie and song you can imagine from the 80s to now. That movie is supposed to have pop culture references. It's the book, which I've read, is written around that. It's a love letter to that, but Star Wars is not. Star Wars is its own fantasy universe, and I'm recording this before I'm making the movie, obviously, before I'm making the YouTube video and uploading it, but I believe I'm going to be plugging my own book that I wrote at the beginning of this. So I totally forgot to plug my book at the beginning of the movie, but this is brought to you by Ruin, by me, actually, and my name is Brandon Berryhill, and if you like sci-fi, steampunk, fantasy, whatever, you will probably like this book. It's got over 60 illustrations in it. It's awesome. It's the best book ever written by anyone ever, and that is totally not a biased opinion because it's by me and I'm totally perfect in every way and never biased. So, buy the book, BrandonBerryhill.com. Sorry, back to the movie. The whole middle of the movie, every scene with that stupid droid, God, that droid was, I think it was supposed to be funny, but it wasn't funny. And whenever people in the theaters would laugh at it, my buddy and I, we just turned to each other and go, really? Why? That was just terrible. And what do you want? Oh, I want droid rights. Okay. Lando's in love with me. Now, this whole thing about Lando being pansexual, I read all about that, and how I actually, the way it was acted, it didn't seem like he was in love with the droid. It seemed like she had weird delusions that he was in love with her, even though he just wasn't. I think he just liked her because she was his droid, but she seemed to be imagining that he loved her. It didn't really pan out. His pansexuality didn't pan out. Sorry, that was dad humor. Anyway, nothing went of that. And when she died, I remember my friend, we'll call him Matt because that's actually his name. Matt and I, we sort of breathed a collective sigh of relief, like, oh God, at least part of this movie isn't going to have that stupid droid in it. That droid was nothing like K2SO. I'm a big fan of, maybe big fan's not the right words, but I definitely enjoyed Rogue One. There's a real split consensus on that one too. A lot of people hated Rogue One. I thought Rogue One was actually pretty great. I liked the dark ending of everybody dying. It had an authentic Star Wars feel, and as an adult, I've reconciled the knowledge that I'm never going to feel the same way I felt as a child watching the original trilogy. I'm never going to get that magic of, oh my God, this is amazing. Oh, look at the Millennium Falcon and it's fighting all these TIE fighters as it's going to the Death Star. That, for me, the quintessential moment was Return of the Jedi. I'm sad to say that the first exposure I had to the Star Wars films were the post George Lucas first edit. So I think 1997 it was, or 1998. This was on VHS. I had all three on VHS. In fact, I have them in a box somewhere because I've gotten rid of all my other VHSs, but I cannot get rid of those. And my first exposure was watching my first time seeing it was on TV. It was, I don't remember what channel it was, but eventually I got them on VHS, and my absolute favorite moment was Return of the Jedi. Every bit of the space battle. Heck, even the Ewok stuff. I was still too young to really care about the Ewok stuff and think, oh God, they're pandering to children. I didn't care about any of that. I thought it was all pretty cool, but for me it was the space battles. Oh man, the space battles were awesome, and even to this day those effects definitely have aged very well. And Rogue One had a moment like that where the Rebel Alliance comes in and saves the day. They're on this planet. They come and they start assaulting the planet. Oh, get the shields up. That whole moment where they first came in, I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, there it is. There's the Star Wars feeling. I haven't had this since Return of the Jedi as a kid. I mean, the episodes 1, 2, and 3, I never had one of those moments. Even the first time I saw them, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, but I didn't have that amazing feeling of, God, this is Star Wars. Rogue One had that in the space battle, at least. I loved that all the characters in that movie, they looked older. They looked like the characters from the original Star Wars films. They didn't look like a bunch of 18-year-old actors trying to appeal to the younger audience. Let's have beautiful people in our films. You know, that wasn't in Rogue One. I appreciated that. This film had none of those moments. Solo didn't have any truly Star Wars feeling moments. And what's with the Millennium Falcon that's got the butt plug in the middle? I don't really understand that. I'm sure they'll explain it in comic books or some other way to get money out of you, but I don't know. I guess I'm not too upset about that, because that's not the end of the world. It's just kind of a bummer to not see the Millennium Falcon in its original state. Original meaning original three movies. Anyway, so that whole second act was just a total waste of time. They had the Kessel thing, you know, the Kessel Run, and it was definitely CGI intensive. It was really pretty. It wasn't bad. Again, I mean, just watching that, I'm sure I would enjoy it visually. It was nice, but I don't know. I actually kind of liked the Kessel Run being a mystery. I liked that. Him saying it was in 12 parsecs. I think it was 12 parsecs. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not a good Star Wars fan, but him saying that was maybe just a writing mistake and just one of those little weird things about Star Wars that we all love and that made us love it even more. They didn't need to do that, but it's fine. And then the third half of the movie, or the third act rather of the movie, we have them going back to the planet. They meet these raiders who they thought were bad guys. They ended up actually being the seeds of the Rebel Alliance, or seeds of the rebellion. That was actually pretty cool. In fact, if you could take out the center of this movie, the whole K2SO is great. Kathleen Kennedroid, whatever her name was, Leet Speak droid. If you could take out that whole middle section with that stupid droid, with that go nowhere action stuff and the Kessel Run, and just put the first and last bits of the movie together, you'd have probably a 7 or an 8 out of 10 film. It still wouldn't be as good as Rogue One. It still wouldn't be nearly as good as the originals, although I don't think any fan is expecting that, so, you know, it's fine. You'd actually have a decent film. But anyway, the last bit, you know, they meet these guys. They become the seed of the rebellion, which was cool. I actually saw that one guy with the face mask. I don't know who he was. I recognized him from Rogue One, and I wonder if it was the same guy. I'll see if I can find a picture of him, and I'll put it in this video. I'm assuming I'll be able to find a picture. Again, I'm just recording this, and this is all off the cuff. I don't have a script in front of me, so heck if I know. And then, of course, the last bit, his girlfriend ends up saying, hey, I gotta stick with this crime syndicate, gotta go do my thing, I'll always love you, blah, 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 love story, lame, we don't care. He shoots Woody Harrelson, which is great. I think that was sort of a tip of the hat to Han shot first, not edited Han. Which, hey, good on you, Star Wars. Whoever directed this film, I already forgot the guy's name. He's not memorable for me. That was cool, awesome, and shooting Woody Harrelson's always fun. The last bit of the film was okay. It was pretty solid, actually. I enjoyed it, and I think the best part of this film for me was the ending scene where I should have looked up her name, to be honest with you. I think it's Kira, but it's spelled some funky way. Kira, let's call her. I think that's her name. She opens up a communication with the leader of the Crimson Syndicate, or Crimson something rather. Again, this is unscripted, guys, so you'll have to forgive me when I forget actual names and references here. But she calls up the leader, and it's Darth Maul. That's awesome. That is super awesome. In fact, could we just drop the whole Han Solo movie thing because nobody cares and just go on to freaking Darth Maul movies? Can we go to Rise of the Crimson Syndicate, or just something with Darth Maul, because he is one of the coolest, most he's like the Boba Fett of Episode 1, in my opinion. and in the opinion of many Star Wars people, I think. I think that Darth Maul was the Boba Fett of the first episode, because everyone loved Darth Maul. That the saber, you say what you will about episode 1, I enjoyed it when I first saw it. Like most people, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But in hindsight, I started to go, what's with Jar Jar Binks? What's with all this politics and crap? I just wanted to see a Star Wars film. Everything's shiny. Everything's kind of weird. It doesn't seem right. Most fans agree that Darth Maul was, and the saber fight and the music and all that stuff, was the epitome of episode 1. Darth Maul, again, I'll say it again, Darth Maul was he was the Boba Fett of the first 3 episodes. And you could write a whole storyline just on him, and on, maybe make him one of those bad guys that we love to hate, but hate to love, and love him anyway. I hate to pull out a different franchise here, but if any of you are Star Trek fans, for instance, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, they wrote one of the greatest villains I've ever seen in science fiction, which is Gul Dukat. And he had this way of you'd watch him and be like, God, this guy is evil. And then he would do something that almost redeemed him, just brought him so close to being redeemed. And you're like, you know what? He's just a father, and a lot of bad stuff happened. And yeah, maybe he's an okay guy. And then he does something evil again, and you're like, man, I can't believe I almost like that guy. I want him to die. And they could do that with Darth Maul. They could write an excellent villain backstory, Crimson, whatever. Please do it, guys. Don't just step away from these stupid identity politics and the whole let's just shove as many women and young people into Star Wars as we can. Just make a Star Wars film. Princess Leia was a strong woman, and she wasn't shoved in our face. She just made sense with the storyline. I'm okay with adding more women to Star Wars. I think that's terrific. But when you shove an agenda in someone's face instead of just include it as if it's just accepted, then people notice. That's why, for example, in China, or most of Asia, Star Wars did so poorly. This whole Rose Tico fiasco, I've seen some people rip into the, what is her name, Kelly Tran or something Tran, I don't remember her name, but man, people were ripping on her on Twitter. I feel kind of bad because she's not a bad actress. She was okay. It's just her character was totally unnecessary and forced, and everyone knew it. And that's why it did so poorly overseas, especially in Asia, because they have a word for it over there. And this isn't scripted, so I don't have the word in front of me, but it basically means pandering to someone for their race. And it's one word. I think it starts with an S. And that's what Star Wars did. They try to shove in these characters and then shove them into our face to say, look, we care about you because we have your people in this movie. Why do we have to put Asians in movies to make Asians happy? Why do we have to put white people, or they don't really care about white people, but why do we have to put black people or Indians or whatever in just to make that race happy? You really think that now I'm white, obviously, you think that I go to a movie and I'm like, oh man, Diary of a Mad Black Woman, one of my guilty pleasures. I actually like that movie. I thought it was a great movie. Oh man, there's not enough white people in this film. I am offended and I'm never going to watch it again. I don't even think like that. It doesn't come to my head. It doesn't come to my head. Okay, so let's see. There's 80% of this race, only 10% of this race. Therefore, I am offended. Could it be that you're so focused on races in your movie and genders in your movie that maybe I'm talking to the director or the producers or whoever's in charge of these decisions. I think it's Kathleen Kennedy. Or Kathleen Kennedroid, excuse me. The Force is female! Maybe it's you who's the racist. Maybe it's you who's the sexist, because you're so focused on race and sex and identity, you don't care about telling a good story. You just care about looking good to every race and every sex apparently there's a million different sexes now, every one of these people on the planet, instead of making a good film. And I think that's just killing Star Wars. It's killing Hollywood in general. And can't we just make a good Star Wars film with a good story? Again, I reference Rogue One. I know some of you don't like it. I loved Rogue One. I think that's a great example of a great Star Wars film. It had a very mixed cast. None of it felt forced. I really thought the guy, what's the guy's name from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon? He was the blind guy in the movie. excellent role. He did an awesome job in the movie. The girl who plays the lead character, all of them, they all did a terrific job. And it was diverse. I mean, all movies are that way now because they have to be, apparently. But nothing felt like it was shoved in my face. It just felt like it was a Star Wars story that was written for fans. And I'm going to end the video here because I know I'm totally rambling. I'm not even talking about Solo at this point. I've been holding all of these opinions in for so long, no one to tell them to, and I just got to get it out, you know? But I'm going to end this with saying, use Rogue One, whether you like it or not, use Rogue One as a good example of what a modern-day Star Wars film can be as it relates to making fans happy. Star Wars Rogue One, I believe, was written for fans. It was, unlike Force Awakens and especially The Last Jedi, good God, maybe I'll make a whole different video on that mess. But it doesn't feel like they said, screw the fans, we're trying to get a new audience. With Rogue One, it was a fan service film. They cared about the fans. They wanted to make us happy, us fans who pay the money and buy these stupid toys, which are now filling up shelves and no one's actually buying. And that's what they did with Rogue One. Whether you like it or not, it was at least canon, and it was at least in the right spirit. It had the right heart for Star Wars fans. So I'll end it with that and say, I never thought that I'd want J.J. Abrams back. After seeing The Last Jedi, God, I hope that he does a better job. I mean, I could do a better job than what they did on The Last Jedi. So, J.J. Jar Jar Abrams, you got your work cut out for you. It's not a lot of work. You can only do better than what we had to deal with. But anyway, final word. Again, I'm rambling. Solo, not a bad film. Okay, it's actually decent. I will give it that. It wasn't great. I would put it down there as maybe third worst Star Wars movie. Worst being The Last Jedi, definitely. I will always have that opinion. Second being maybe Attack of the Clones. Totally forgettable film with just way too much just political yakety-yak between... Anyway, and then third would be Solo. So it's not the worst of all the Star Wars films, but it's pretty forgettable with a smattering of a few cool Star Wars-y moments and a little tip of the hat to fans once in a while. So my final rating? 5 out of 7. Let's give it a 5 out of 7. I don't want to give it a 4 because to me 4 is a film sucks. If it's like the top end of sucking, it's not bad. It's an okay film. So 5 out of 7. Solo. You probably don't deserve it, but here's my 5. Do better on the next one, and I'm going to make another video about the putting on pause of all these side Star Wars stories and things like that. I'll probably make it right after this because I got Star Wars on the brain. And like I said, I'm alone in the house right now. Very rarely does this happen. I can actually talk full voice to you guys. So, hey, I will see you in the next video. And if you like this video, please subscribe. And if you didn't like this video, send it to all the people you hate so they can subscribe. All right, thanks a lot.
Droid rights! Oh god, droid rights! We need them now! Droid rights! Go! Droid rights. Droid rights. Droid rights.